do you think that four schools with new coaches will affect the league this year, and sort of how that might shake up the standings?
I think the teams will be. Obviously, there's some quality coaches taking over these teams. I think it'll do a lot for the teams. Outside of that, I really don't think of it that deep. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with my team.
From what you know of Tom Groh, what impact do you think he might have at NC State?
I really haven't thought that out. I'm sure they'll be very well coached. And Tom's teams have always been very precise and very disciplined, and I'm sure that will be the case wherever he coaches.
Al, I'm sure you've already answered this, so I apologize. Anything else status going into this preseason?
Mark, he's been a full. The only way I can answer it is to say that he's been a full participant in the summer off-season program, which includes all the training sessions, all the throwing that the players have done together. So some of the training sessions have involved a lot of pretty aggressive work with their hands and wrists. He's done everything all the other players have done. He's positive about where he is. We're positive about where he is. And what we've said, Mark, is that we all understand, players, coaches, Jamil, it's going to probably take to be in the games that's just going to determine whether it's the injury occurred when he put his hand out. It wasn't a throwing injury to brace himself. That might come up. He did come up one day to tell me that the day before in working out on the field, he tripped and put his hand out, reactively to cushion himself, and he got up and was like, "Wow, this is still good." So that was certainly a positive thing. So I think we'll just have to wait to see what all the game circumstances bring, which obviously creates. I'd like to tell you that it was a little more specific than that. Obviously creates a little level of anxiety for everybody. But
do you think the team has a more diverse running game this year than in previous, with the fact that we have a running quarterback and multiple running backs with different styles that maybe we haven't seen in previous years?
No, we had pretty good diversity there when we had Alvin and Wally.
How about compared to last year?
And we're running pretty much the same schemes that we have. Now, all the players involved certainly have a lot more experience than me. And, Jason was a different back than those other two, but he was very effective for us last year. So I think we have a different cast of characters, but I think the schemes and what we can do in any particular game, we have enough range in what we're going to do with those things.
How reluctant were you to run Jamil last year? And right now, today, you anticipate being more willing to run him this year?
It's a skill that he has. We want to take advantage of all the skills that each player has. We have to balance that with, obviously, he's our key guy right now. We don't want to overexpose him to unnecessary hits. That is, we spend a lot of time trying to protect the quarterback, when he's passing the ball, so that he doesn't get hit. We then don't want to go over to the other side of the street and suddenly start exposing them 18, 21 times a game to those kind of hits after we've worked so hard to protect him in the pocket. But certainly he's got a skill. A couple of those plays that he broke out on last year were either called runs or run-pass plays.
But it didn't seem that you were that reluctant to run last year.
No, we weren't. We just don't want. We just have to
pick your spot.
Yeah, we just have to know that this. While he's a very good runner, it probably wouldn't be smart to run him
15
an inordinate amount of times. Yeah, 15, I'd say. I remember a couple springs ago. This answer popped into my head, Doug, as I was thinking about it. A couple springs ago, we had a lot of conversation with the head coach at Bowling Green, and that's when they had. Was it Omar Jacobs? Was that his name? And he was running the ball about 18 or 20 times a game, and very effectively for their team. But we just wanted to learn more about that style of offense, just for a number of different reasons. And I can remember him telling us it's just as effective as that was for them, and their offense was designed for those plays. that he really didn't feel comfortable with more than 12 per game. He thought that the amount of hits that over the course of 12 games that the quarterback would take, that would take too much out of him. So
now, when you had Hagens, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would bet he had a very high number of carries, and I assume a lot of that was scrambles. Those weren't as many. There weren't as many called runs as you might have thought from his number.
You're right. They weren't just specific, but it was kind of. We knew that just because of Marcus's style of play, we knew there would be X amount of runs that would come out of passes. So that whether we call them as, hey, quarterback, take the ball and run with it type of plays, or we just call pass plays, the game was going to finish with Marcus trying to run with the ball 8-9 times, which would enable him to take advantage of his excellent running ability. So, and we did have a lot of conversations with Marcus about just, look, this is obviously actually the way it was. Doug I said to him one time, wouldn't you like to be 6'5"? And of course Marcus said, I sure would. I said, well, did you ever think that all those 6'5" quarterbacks would like to be able to run like you can? And so therefore you have a specific talent that lots of other quarterbacks don't have. Do not be hesitant to use that talent, whether it's on a sprint out pass or quarterback sweep or just break out of the pocket. So he was encouraged to do those things.
With both coordinators back for their second year and so many starters, is there just a sense of optimism around the program about this team and what it can accomplish?
I think everybody feels very positive, but I'd say it's more there's a little attitude about the whole operation.
So there's a little attitude
that everybody has towards performing the way that we want, that we think that this team can perform.
Heather from the Baltimore side. 4 new coaches in the league this year, kind of unusual. Does it mean anything? Does it say anything about the league last year? And how much harder is it going to be to prepare for some of those guys not knowing?
Well, it certainly makes it, anytime you have continuity with an opponent, you have a little sense not only of how that team plays, but most particularly how they have chosen to play against you. That's really more significant than the amount of games that they've had in the league. And we have that circumstance with a number of teams this year that we don't know how that team would choose to play us. And we even have a couple in our early games. Duke has new coordinators on offense and defense. Georgia Tech has a new coordinator on offense. North Carolina's got a new system. So actually in our first 3 league games, we don't have a lot of real specific information as we might normally do with not only an ACC opponent but a divisional opponent. So it's a little bit of an unusual circumstance with us with those first 3 games.
Do you think does it say anything about the league, or is it just as simple as we got 4 new coaches last year? Is it?
It probably isn't that simple, but I'll go with that. I mean, that's simple enough for me. Simple things make more sense to me.
Al, do you, as a coach, feel more secure having a bunch of guys who are a year older surrounding, like that you're looking out on the field and seeing them, as opposed to maybe how you, I'm not saying you were, shaking in your shoes a year ago, but you just feel more secure with what you see on the depth chart and out.
Oh, yeah. The way I would probably answer it, Bob, would be to say that, I can clearly see that there are a lot more players who are much more familiar and much more confident in how to do their job. I knew that, from the time that some of these players signed with us, we knew that they were talented players and were going to have a good career. A lot of them were just sticking their toe in the water for the first time last year, and it was just, we needed a little time to see how they were going to perform. Now we've got a much better picture of that. Most particularly, they themselves have a better picture of it.